Hello, beautiful friends. This is the Organizer Advisor, here to help you enhance your happiness and transform your life. Welcome, welcome. I hope if you celebrated the holiday in the United States yesterday of Memorial Day, I hope that went well for you and it was a splendid day. Rainy, but splendid. Just a tip, just to start us off before we start off with our morning message. As you are going through the holidays in whatever country you live in, gather all the items that you use to celebrate that. If you have a storage area, you can put all of these items in a bin, wrap them carefully, clean them before you put them in there. But for me, it's kind of like the red, white, and blue and all of my patriotic things. Now, I use these for multiple holidays. So they go in a bin, I label the bin, and then that way when I want to celebrate, I can go grab the bin and I have all of my items. So just kind of go through your things. And as you're cleaning and organizing, think, is this something that you use every day if you have a particular item? Or can this item be stored for a particular holiday or celebration? So for me, I have all my patriotic clothes. I have the specific dishes that I use for this holiday or any kind of patriotic holiday. Just anything that kind of goes with that color combination. That way I don't have to have these items in my space all the time, but I can still utilize them. That's just a tip. Today is May 26th. Grab your hydration beverage. Let's have a sit and a sip. And I would like to share with you an uplifting message to help you make the most of this day. All right, let's get started with the Buddha Doodles. One of my favorite little box of cards that I've purchased. I have like 6 boxes of cards, and they just kind of spoke to me when I was shopping. Most of them come from like discount stores. But I just wasn't using them. I used them for me, but then I thought I could really start to share some uplifting message with others. So I went ahead and designed this little daily bloom to be able to use these. All right, let's see what the Buddha Doodles say today. Come home to your heart. Come home to your heart. That's a pretty important message because your heart, your genuine, caring, compassionate, authentic self needs to feel at home. But everything comes back to what is meaningful to you. And that is what emanates from your heart. What is in alignment with your heart. And while we're talking about that, I just want to kind of give a suggestion on when you're trying to declutter or purge. You will have a visceral reaction to all the items. And that's where the, kind of the Japanese method of touching each item, you're feeling the resonance. You're feeling and evaluating that visceral response. Why? Because it's connected to your nervous system. If you have a house full of things that feel repulsive to you, and that's the word I'm going to describe. It's a repulsive energy. It's like your body just doesn't want to interact with that item. If your house is filled with things like that, it's triggering your nervous system all the time. And every time you see it, you have this visceral reaction of wanting to avoid. So that's how I purge. Now, remember, purging goes in layers. So what resonates with me, now is different than what resonated with me 10 years ago. And I'm a collector. I have a lot of stuff. But I do in every Nook and Cranny cleaning every year. I do it in January in 30 days, but I literally interact with every single item in my home. And what doesn't resonate with me anymore gets sold. Or I donate. Or I see if somebody else that I know can use it. Because it may resonate with them in a different way. But everything in my house, in my home environment, needs to be in alignment with my heart. And I'm well beyond talking myself into keeping things because I may use that one day, or, I'm afraid there's a fear-based energy that if I get rid of it, I'm going to regret it. Well, here's how you combat that. When you purge your items, take all of the money that you get from selling them, put them in what I call a savings account. It's a savings account. You're saving money. And then I use all the money that I saved during the month by using coupons, store loyalty cards, e-coupons, stuff that, products that I generate that I sell. And then anything that I save during my fiscal fast week, which is the last week of the month, which is this week, I take all the money that I would have normally spent and I calculate it And at the end of the month, I write myself a check and I deposit it in my savings account. So why does that matter? If you regret selling something, you can probably buy it again used and you're no worse off. So that's my way of saying, you know, if I end up regretting getting rid of this, I have the money to purchase it again and I can purchase it used. So there we go. All right, let's see what we want to talk about today. Who do you admire most in your life? What qualities do they have that makes them stand out to you? Who do you admire most? I say one of the best strategies for success is to find somebody that is successful at what you want to do and do what they did. They were the pioneer. They took the steps and it got them to where you want to be. Look at what they're doing. Look at their habits. Look at what do they have? What are they doing? What skill set do they have that got them to the place that you want to be? So look at what somebody you admire. You admire them for a reason. Then what qualities do they have that make them stand out to you? Those are qualities you can develop to align with your goals, your dreams, or to become the kind of person that you want to be. It's as easy as that. You know, we all have versions of ourselves. You know, the version of me that existed 15 years ago is not the same version of me that I am living now, because that old version expired. I grew. I acquired more knowledge and wisdom, experience. I looked at the qualities that I admire in other people, and I started to embrace them and develop those qualities for myself. And now I like this version of me a lot better than the version that I was living 15 years ago. So just some food for thought. You are the creator of your life. You are the architect of your life. And whatever circumstances you're living with, and a great many of those circumstances that you can change if you don't like them. So empower yourself. Look at qualities of somebody that you admire and embrace them. And start to develop those qualities within you. Doesn't mean you have to become that person, but you admire those qualities for a reason. All right, let's get to our self-care. If you're using my self-care framework, and you don't have to, it's just a framework I use because it works for me, but you do you. Everything that I bring to this content that I share with you is just an example of what may work, but it's always just a suggestion. You kind of mold it to what works for you. So for my self-care framework, Tuesdays are mani-pedi days. Now, you know, I'm somebody who likes to use what I have because that's the best money-saving strategy I can ever suggest to you, is use what you have before you go out and buy. So just as a little piece of insight, I have used all of my nail polish down to the last drop. So now I'm going to be really excited because I'm going to go and purchase next week. It's not fiscal fast week, so I'm not going to purchase this week. But I'm going to pick out some new colors. And that's exciting to me because it's just kind of like maybe my color preferences have shifted with this new version of myself. So now I want to pick something maybe new and exciting. So just a thought. But the point was, I've used all of my nail polishes in my mani-pedis that I do on Tuesdays. Take a walk. Walking is a really good exercise. It is so beneficial health-wise. If you are trying to lose weight or you are insulin resistant, walk for at least 10 minutes after your main meal of the day. If you eat a big dinner, your heaviest meal is dinner, it's really important that you eat that early enough so that you're not falling asleep with all of that glucose in your system, but also you want to burn that glucose in your system so you, as your metabolism slows down when you go into a restful state, your body is programmed to take any glucose that's remaining in your system and funnel it into your body storage. So if you don't use it, by the time you go into that rest and digest state and sleep state, that glucose then is going to be stored. And for insulin resistant, because your cells aren't using all of that glucose, your body always has an abundance. But when you exercise, your cells don't recognize that you're insulin resistant. It triggers them to open up to take that glucose. That's just a survival strategy. So take a walk. You know, take your pet. Take your dog for a walk. I have a stroller. I can take a cat if I needed to. But walking is an amazing, especially if you're walking in nature. Now, I talk about that all the time, the health benefits of being in nature, the psychological benefits, the emotional benefits of being in nature. It's amazing. But take a walk, meet with some friends during lunch and take a walk. 10 minutes will make a huge difference. It also relieves stress, lowers your blood pressure, keeps your muscle tone, keeps your joints lubricated. So it's just an all-around great activity, especially if you just need to de-stress. Okay, now that we have our little dopamine drop, self-care releases dopamine, which makes you feel good, but it's the activation brain chemical. It helps you initiate things, and it helps you, it just helps you get started. So let's see, for our organization, what little goal could we achieve today to help us along our way? Kitchen, the soul of the home. Okay, so the kitchen is the heart of the home, especially if you cook a lot. But if you're trying to save money by not eating out and you're trying to eat healthier, the kitchen is going to be the key feature in accomplishing those goals, because you're going to do the food prep. Now, a couple of things. Don't take on the kitchen in one day. Use the compass rose strategy. Start on one wall a day. And that's clean the cabinetry, keep clean whatever appliances on that wall, clean the countertop, declutter that countertop. That is your prime real estate. If you don't have workspace room on your countertops, you're going to be less likely to cook, because you'll avoid, because there's no place. But if it's a space where there's space for you to work, to prep, to cook, to chop, to, to mix, to stir, to blend, whatever, if you have that space, you are more likely to engage in cooking activities. If the room is inviting, you are more likely to engage in cooking at home. So what do you need to do to uplift this room? The first thing is going to be declutter, because when I work with clients, the first thing I see is all of the appliances out on the countertops and there is no prep space. And the room as a whole feels heavy and uninviting. So the first thing I look at when I go into a client's home that wants to revitalize their kitchen is I look at the prime real estate countertop space. And oftentimes it's just way overcluttered. So now we need to reformat the kitchen. We also need to work in zones. So we have a prep zone, we have a serving zone, we have a cleaning zone for dishwashing. If your kitchen is not zoned properly, you're going to be exhausted when you cook, because you're moving all around the kitchen. You're wasting a lot of energy in overstepping because your zones aren't aligned. So then what happens is cooking becomes exhausting, and then we avoid. Access to the items that you need. If you have to move more than one item to get something, you're not going to. If you have to move more than one item to put something away, you're not going to. So streamlining your kitchen is really essential. Having access to your mixing bowls, your bakeware, your cookware, your knives, your utensils, all of that factors into whether or not you're going to cook at home, which saves you money and it helps you to eat healthier. It's also a really good family gathering place. I mean, teach your children to cook. Get your family involved in cooking. That's a skill they're going to need to know, so they can cook with you. So work in zones using the compass rose strategy or whatever strategy. Go ahead and just work on one section a day. If your kitchen is way overwhelming, then just reduce it to a couple of cabinets and maybe that countertop space. And then after 4 days, when you're totally finished, then go ahead, clean the flooring, get everything put away, put some fresh flowers or a plant in your kitchen to make it more inviting. Last thing I want to say is lighting. If your kitchen is dark, you are going to be less likely to cook. It's not inviting. A well-lit kitchen with bright white light is going to help. If you don't have a window in your kitchen, you might want to consider some more lighting, like lamps, or make sure that your lighting fixture is clean, whatever, because seeing in a bright space while you're cooking, it's going to make the vegetables look brighter, it's going to make the food look more appealing, and it's going to give an overall more pleasant aesthetic to food prep and eating food. So those are just some tips for maybe getting your kitchen clean. All right, my friends, that is our message for today. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take good care, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, bye. All right.